Manawaker Studios Flash Fiction podcast is supported by patrons on Patreon. To find out more or to add your support for as little as $1 a month, visit patreon.com/Manawaker. Welcome to Manawaker Studios Flash Fiction podcast. I'm CB Drogi. This week, Changeling by Rosanna Bates. To lay one's child in the cradle of another was an act encouraged by a desperate culture. A culture of creatures whose only defense against the agents of evil was to shrink down and hide among the dandelions. For fairies had little else in their power, lacking the ethereal wings that humans had fashioned them in their folk tales. The size of a fingernail, she slipped into the nursery through a crack in the window. Her steps, so often sweeping with grace, were sluggish, reluctant. The bundle in her arms, only as big as a pinhead, mumbled in its sleep. She hesitated, clutching her bundle closer, yet never dared to look at it. The others had advised against such indulgence. A lithe jump from the windowsill sent her plummeting to the plush carpet below, but landed the size of a fully grown human. Her treasured bundle, now as big as a human newborn. The nursery, well furnished and warm, like a real home. Worlds away from the hollow tree she occupied, and the acorn cup in which she rocked her baby to sleep. A home she deserved. Eyes unseeing, she planted a final kiss on her baby's forehead. Their traditions were firm, unquestioned, but the agony was never discussed. How did one recover from such heartbreak? The dutiful return of their kinsfolk from the changing of their children, heads lowered, cheeks stained with tears, had become their normality, an inevitability. Their sorrows rewarded with cheers of congratulations and exultation, celebrating an eternal, invincible agony. Yet, the prospect of such despair could not deter her from acting to protect the soul of her child. She laid her baby in the cradle alongside the human child. Their own identities were weeks away from emerging, still too wrinkled and new. This young humans could barely distinguish between their own offspring and that of another. One last stroke of her newborn's cheek, and she stole the human baby from the cradle, soon to be found on the doorstep of the fire station. Shrinking down to her miniature size, she cast one final glance at her legacy, sound asleep. To awake safe and loved, never to know the terror of being hunted. Hesitating no longer, she danced back through the crack and resigned herself to a lifetime with a burdened heart. This has been Changeling, written by Rosanna Bates. For more information about Manawaker Studios' other projects, including books and games, visit Manawaker.com, which is also where you should go to learn more about the authors featured on this podcast or to get details about submitting a story. The Flash Fiction Podcast theme song is by Kevin MacLeod. Manawaker Studios' Director of Dice is Ben Baston. I'm CB Drogi. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at CBDROEGE. Thanks for listening.